It's now 6 o'clock. Oh, no, 3 o'clock, I beg your pardon. And 6 o'clock somewhere, absolutely. And I now declare this meeting open. And this public meeting is being recorded to improve access to the meeting for our community. The recording will be published and will be retained by Council in accordance with Council's legal obligations. As a visitor in the gallery, in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which the rural city of Wangaratta resides. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and celebrate and respect their continuing cultures. We are committed to walking beside all traditional owners as we move towards reconciliation. I would also like to recognise the very many people who've made the rural city of Wangaratta the wonderful place that it is. Almighty God, we humbly ask Thee to bless and guide this council in its deliberations so that we may truly serve the welfare of the people whom we serve. Present, absent, acceptance of apologies and granting of leaves of absence. Do we have any of those? There's no citizenship ceremony. Item number 7, which is the confirmation of minutes, and I ask Councillor Benton if he would like to move the last minutes. And Councillor Fuller. Is everyone in agreement? Thank you. The minutes have been confirmed. Number 8, conflict of interest disclosure. No, we don't have any of those. A reception of petitions, number 9. Hearing of deputations, number 10, item number 10. And item number 11, which is councillor reports. And I'd like to just make a short statement with regard to the passing of Dawn Fox. We acknowledge her passing. She was a councillor with the City of Wangaratta from 1977 to 1981. Item number 12, executive services. I think in that part of the agenda. And item number 13, corporate and leisure, 13.1, and councillor appointments to portfolios and committees.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. So Council has identified a number of areas of strategic and community focus and created portfolios around those areas, which also allows for good representation from councillors and good governance and decision making. And the purpose of this report is to nominate councillors to those portfolios and also to councils associated committees, advisory committees and other groups for which they formally represent the council. The recommendation that's in the report on the screen first asks councillors to endorse the change of the name of the Sustainability, Environment and Resource Recovery portfolio just to simply the Sustainability portfolio, and to combine the Economic Development and Tourism portfolios into one single Economic Development and Tourism portfolio. There's then an attachment to the report which lists councillors against the relevant portfolios and advisory committees and groups, and councillors are asked to adopt and appoint those councillors formally, and finally to thank all council committees, reference groups and their members from the community for their ongoing achievements and contribution and commitment to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brindley. Now I'll ask if there's a question from the gallery with regard to this particular item. If not, I would like to ask if the councillor would like to move the recommendation that we have in front of us. Councillor Benton.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I move the recommendation with the addition of delegate to be added at 0.5, the UAB, to the mayor of the delegate and substitute, or the deputy to be the substitute delegate.
So that would read item number 5 in the recommendation that the deputy mayor would be the delegate to the MAB in the mayor's absence. Yep. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Fuller? Would anyone like to speak to this particular recommendation? Yep. And I think it's probably also worth noting that the mayor will be an ex officio or sit across all the portfolios, which is the usual work of the mayor, and that certainly won't change while I'm the mayor as well. So we've got a recommendation put by Councillor Benton and seconded by Councillor Fuller. Are we all in agreement? The recommendation becomes the motion is passed. Thank you. We now move to item 13.2, which is the Q1 forecast review.
Thank you. So under the Local Government Act, council is obligated to report on a quarterly basis against its adopted budget for this financial year, which is what this report contains. There are detailed reporting and notes in the document itself. The recommendation is that for the Q1 forecast review for this financial year, Council approves the decrease in the projected full-year accounting surplus of $485,000 to $13.43 million, the increase in capital works expenditure by $1.55 million to $35.43 million, which is mostly due to carryovers from the prior financial year of $1.4 million. That number was adopted at the July Council meeting. Third point, that carryovers of unearned revenue from last financial year of $1.34 million due to the capital grants funding that was not fully expended last financial year that we carried over, and point four, that the environmental upgrade agreement quarterly statement is also approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Brindley. Do we have a question from the audience for this particular item? If not, do I have a councillor to move the recommendation? Councillor Fuller? Anyone to second? Councillor Benton? Councillor Fuller, would you like to speak to this particular recommendation? Councillor Benton?
The only thing I would like to point out, excuse me, is in relation to the disaster funding recovery, is another $500,000. Council hasn't been able to claim back off the disaster funding for the recovery fund. And, it's really highlights to me anyway some of the problems with that federal government grant to disaster and council, and Lakeplayers have to pick up the tab. Thank you.
You don't want anyone to talk to that, Councillor Benton? That's one of the directors. No, it's just a comment. Yep. Okay. All right, councillors. A motion moved by Councillor Fuller, seconded by Councillor Benton. We're all in favour? The recommendation becomes the motion. Thank you. Item number 14.1, which is the SGA drainage basin construction.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is presented to Council with a recommendation to award the contract for the basin construction. The South Growth Area drainage basin construction is a new wetland retaining basin that supports critical infrastructure required for precincts 3 and 4 of the Wangaratta South Growth Area. This project was identified as part of this year's capital works program, and the scope has been unchanged. The recommendation is that Council awards the contract to North East Civil Constructions, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign and seal the documents, and discloses the contract price.
Thank you, Director. Do we have someone to move the recommendation? Oh, questions to the audience on this particular subject, drainage? No. So do we have a councillor to move the recommendation? Councillor Bassel. Anyone to second? Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Bassel, would you like to speak to this particular recommendation?
No, thanks, Madam Mayor. Part of doing a subdivision.
Councillor Fitzpatrick, would you like to speak? No. So we have a recommendation moved by Councillor Bassel and seconded by Councillor Fitzpatrick. Are we all in favour? Thank you, councillors. We move to, yes. Price?
The price is $968,045.71.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Item number 14.2, which is Cryers Bridge Replacement, Myra Woodlands Road.
This report is presented to council to recommend the award of the Cryers Bridge replacement. We have an annual budget for maintenance and replacement of bridges and associated infrastructure as part of the 24-25 budget. The replacement of this bridge has been prioritised due to deterioration in the existing condition based on condition data. The recommendation is that council awards the contract to Nelnet Proprietary Limited, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign the sealed documents and discloses the contract price.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Do we have some? Oh, no, a question to the audience. No. We have a recommendation, councillors. Would someone like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Bassel. Someone to second? Councillor Benton. Councillor Bassel, would you like to speak to the recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's quite pleasing to see this council paying so much attention to bridges over the last 10 years as compared to historical. We're well and truly on top of all our old bridges now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bassel. Councillor Benton, would you like to? So councillors, a recommendation moved by Councillor Bassel and seconded by Councillor Benton. Are we all in favour? Thank you, councillors. We move to item, disclose the price.
Price is $670,732.50.
Thank you, Director Goonan. We now move to item 14.3, for provision for cleaning contract extension.
Thank you. This report is presented to council to approve a one-year extension for the provisions of cleaning, including some additional costs. The original contract for provision of cleaning was awarded to SSX Group for 2 years. The contract included 2 one-year extensions. Officers are seeking to extend the existing contract by 1 year to allow for re-tendering in 2025. Over the term of this contract, existing site scopes have been amended and additional sites have been added. Some of these include CPI increases, additional recurring cleaning requirements of facilities including PAC, Wyzak and Depot, and new assets including the Ned Kelly Hub and Wangaratta Transfer Station Office. The recommendation is that council approves the 1 year contract extension and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Would someone like to ask a question from the audience on this particular item? If not, councillors, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Fitzpatrick, thank you. Someone to second? Councillor Benton, thank you. Councillor Fitzpatrick, would you like to speak to this? That's good. Councillor Benton, that's good. Very good. Recommendation moved by Councillor Fitzpatrick and seconded by Councillor Benton. Are we all in favour, councillors? Thank you. We move to item 14.4, which is the awarding of a contract T12999, supply of fertiliser, horticultural chemical seed.
This report is presented to council to award a panel contract for the supply delivery of seed, chemical and fertiliser products. This contract has a term set for 2 initial years with the option of 3 additional 1-year extensions, so to a total maximum of 5 years. The decision to exercise these options will sit solely at the discretion of the CEO, depending on satisfactory performance of the initial contract. The recommendation is that Council awards the contract to the companies noted on the screen and advises that authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign and seal the documents.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Is there a question from the audience on this particular item? If not, councillors, we have a recommendation. Would someone like to move that, please? Councillor Benton. Someone to second? Councillor Fuller, thank you. Councillor Benton, would you like to speak to this?
Well, we've got a question to the director. Was any of the local suppliers, or did they have the opportunity to be able to get it?
They absolutely did. So this was a publicly available tender, and as I understand it, the majority of the people who've been awarded the tender are previous suppliers of council for these products.
Councillor Fuller, would you like to speak to the so we have a recommendation moved by Councillor Benton and seconded by Councillor Fuller. Councillors, are we in agreement? Thank you. The recommendation becomes the motion. Passed. 14.5, awarding of tender for the supply and delivery of emulsion.
As we've said, the report is presented to Council to award the tender for supply and delivery of emulsion. This contract will also include annual maintenance of Council's emulsion bulk storage tank, which is at the depot. The term of this contract is for 2 years with additional 3 1-year extensions, which shall be extended at the discretion of the CEO based on satisfactory performance. The recommendation is that the tender is awarded to Downer EDI and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign and seal all relevant documents.
Thank you, Director Goonan. Is there a question from the audience on this particular item? Yep.
I have a motion, is good. Just be explained to everybody else what the motion is.
Simply, emulsion is the element that binds the asphalt together. So the rocks, etc., that sit within the asphalt.
Thank you, Councillor Bossett. We've got a recommendation, councillors. Councillor Fitzpatrick to move. Councillor Bustle to second. Councillor Fitzpatrick, do you? Councillor Bustle? You've asked a good question, so is there any other questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Being a rural councillor, roads are one of the most important things, and we have a very, very good plan to keep our roads in good order, our sealed roads and our gravel roads. So this is a very important contract.
And I think it's worth noting that we're going to undertake a road review in this term of council, which will look at our roads and obviously look at the hierarchy and the status of the roads across the rural city. So very important. So we have a recommendation put by Councillor Fitzpatrick and seconded by Councillor Bustle. Are we all in favour? Thank you, Councillor. Move to item number 15.1, the draft climate adaptation plan.
Thank you. A draft 10-year climate adaptation plan has been prepared with the help of community input to address the challenges posed by climate change on Council's operations, assets, services and activities. The draft plan is attached to the agenda and identifies the risks that stem from climate change related to, or the risks related to climate change impacts. It also outlines how climate impacts are predicted to affect our municipality and then sets priorities for Council's operations over the next 10 years. The draft plan is ready for further community consultation, and officers recommend that council endorses the draft plan for public exhibition.
Thank you, Director Swart. We have a question from the audience on this particular item. I think it's worth noting that this is a plan that's going out for an extended period of consultation, given that we're going through the Christmas and New Year period. And while it's a plan in place, it's a draft plan, and I would certainly recommend the community to give their input. Read through the document. It's an important document, not only from an amenity perspective, but also from an economic development, and in every way it affects our community. So I think it's important that we all have a look at it and have our say in terms of what that particular adaptation plan will look like in the end. So we have a recommendation. By Councillor Fuller, Councillor Benton. Councillor Fuller, would you like to speak? Councillor Benton, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I will say I'll support the document coming out, and it is a mandatory document that we have to have to rectify state government. In reading the document, I find it at times covers everything, and it doesn't cover it only covers what council can do, and that's what the document should be, what council can actually do with its powers and control. I think it does get to a point that mainly it is just an advocacy document to try and make sure things in other agencies that we have no control over, their ability in a lot of the things. I'll give you an example. North East Water, the NECMA and Murray Gold have over the drainage and river systems within the municipality. We can advocate for it, and that's all we can really do in that area. But I do think at times some of the data is, in my opinion, is taken at a recent point in time. It doesn't really go back far enough, but I would agree with that and I urge what the Mayor has said in relationship to having a reason, because it does impact the thinking and the drive of other documents in the council's area. So I really urge the community to have a say. So that they're all very comfortable.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. So, Councillor Pulley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just echoing both the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor in regards to the understanding that we are resourced very limited in this field, and we need to be very realistic about what opportunities we put into this document, and to have that lens when you're looking over it and suggesting items that might be added to it, that we have to be resourced to be able to actually achieve what's put forward. Thank you.
And that's certainly true, Councillor Fuller, because council needs to make its decision in the environment of competing priorities, and everything that we consider has something else that will influence that particular decision. So I urge the community to have their input so that we can come up with a plan that is truly reflective of our community. So Councillor Fuller's moved the recommendation, Councillor Benton seconded. All councillors in favour? Thank you. We now move to item number 15.2, which is the tourism event funding recommendations.
Thank you. Each year council tourism events funding program provides financial assistance to event organisers for the promotion and development of their festivals and events. Grants and sponsorships are available up to $5,000 for major and marquee events and up to $2,000 for minor events. Applications were invited for events taking place between January and December 2025. Officers have assessed those applications against the criteria within the program and recommends that council awards a total of $17,000 to fund 5 events as part of the grant stream, and a total of $13,000 to fund 3 events as part of the sponsorship stream.
Thank you, Director Swart. Do we have a question from the audience on this particular item? do I have a councillor to move the recommendation? Councillor Russell, I need a second. Thank you, Councillor Winters. Councillor Russell, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. All I'd like to is just thank the staff that worked quite hard to go through the application, so I just want to thank them for their work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Winters, would you like to speak? So, councillors, we have a recommendation which is self-explanatory in terms of the information that's there. Moved by Councillor Russell and seconded by Councillor Winters. Are we all in favour, councillors? Thank you. We move to the next item on the agenda, and that is the item number 15.3, which is the Youth Council Advisory Committee 2025.
Thank you. The Rural City Wangaratta's Youth Council provides a voice for young people to engage with our council and the community. Council has received 13 applications for membership of the 2025 Youth Council, and officers recommend that council appoints the applicants to the Youth Council, and they are listed on the screen.
Thank you, Director Swart. Do we have a question from the audience on this particular item? If not, councillors, we have a recommendation. Councillor Fitzpatrick, you will move. Someone to second. Councillor Maxwell, thank you. Councillor Fitzpatrick, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to thank the 2024 outgoing youth councillors for their advocacy this year and all the services they've provided to our young people in the wider community. They've done a fantastic job. I'm proud to acknowledge that the Rural City of Wangaratta we have a youth council. Not every council has a youth advisory group, so I'm proud that here that we do, and we're very lucky to have such great young people. And I just want to congratulate the new applicants for the 2025 Youth Council. There's a great diversity of representation from schools in the rural cities. So congratulations everyone, and we look forward to working with you and seeing what legacy you'll leave for 2025.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Councillor Maxwell, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I concur with Councillor Fitzpatrick's statement there, and just like to say that yesterday we had such an interesting conversation with the new youth group that came before us, and I think we're in really good hands, and I look forward under my portfolio to working with them in the coming years.
And that's certainly true. We had the good fortune of meeting with the group yesterday, and if the future is in the hands of people like young people we met last night, we are in very good hands. And I think Councillor Fitzpatrick did mention the fact that the rural city of Wangaratta is unique amongst councils in having a youth council, and we've had a long-standing tradition of having a youth council, and the young people that have passed through that process have gone on to do bigger and better things, which has been a wonderful training ground for many of the young people that have been part of the Youth Council. So we have a recommendation that Councillor Fitzpatrick has moved and Councillor Maxwell has seconded. Councillors in support. Thank you, councillors. We now move to item number 15.4, which is the Combined Planning Scheme Amendment and Planning Permit Application, Wangaratta Whitfield Road and Targura Park.
Thank you. Planning Scheme Amendment C86 is a proposed combined rezoning and subdivision of land at Wangaratta Whitfield Road and Targura Park. It is to create a 233 lot residential development and an integrated water management facility to service that residential development and areas beyond it. This proponent-led proposal was authorised by the Minister for Planning and subsequently exhibited in accordance with the Planning Environment Act. A number of submissions were received and they are summarised in the report in the agenda. Under the Planning Environment Act, Council now needs to consider the submissions and either change the proposal as requested by submitters, or abandon the proposal, or refer the proposal to an independent panel. Officers recommend that council refers the amendment to a panel appointed by the Minister for Planning and notifies submitters of council's decision.
Thank you, Director Sport. Do we have a question from the audience on this particular item? You go to the microphone at the desk, state your name. And ask the question.
Paul Anderson, my name.
Colin, would you put the... Yep, that's great.
Paul Anderson is my name. I'm a resident from Pinnock Drive, which is back on the subdivision. Precursor to my question, and is a leading. Up to now, we are an objector, and we are in line with a number of other objectors. After our initial objection, we were advised by council that we would be informed that any subsequent meetings or inquiries we would be informed. This date, we have not been informed of this meeting where this was to be discussed. My question is, how did that occur to start with?
I'll ask Director Swart to answer that question, but I'll ask him to answer the question.
This step that council is considering today is not typically a step that we will inform submitters about. That's largely because it's procedural in nature, and that's really just to get the application to the next step. Council is not making a decision tonight about the merits of the application, so whether it's a good idea or not. The recommendation is to send it to an independent panel, which will provide submitters with an additional chance to be heard by that independent panel.
And submitters will be notified of that.
Yes.
In light of that, the county have just advised us of 3 recommendations council can proceed with. Why does not the council, in line with the objectives that they have received, reject this application outright and return it to the developers for future for better consideration?
Put through the mayor, the councillors are about to consider that very thing. They've got a recommendation from officers. Councillors now have to make a decision on that, which they'll do very shortly.
Having said that, have you looked at the developer's website?
Well, have in the past.
As it stands at the moment, they're advertising this as a foregone conclusion. They're prepared to make $60 million out of the development. They're not far off putting on the market.
Well, it's not a foregone conclusion. I think we've made that pretty clear tonight that it's got to go to a panel to be considered, and this is a step in the process of doing that.
But can't council reject that decision outright? Here's 9%, send it back to the developers.
Well, council deemed that it would be more appropriate to send it to panel. Well, they might, given the recommendation that we've got in front of us. Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the audience? State your name, please.
Lauren Murray. I'm also a resident of Pinnock Drive. My concern is just the amount of allotments that are in the proposed subdivision and the impact that will have on the roads and the size of the blocks is not sort of in keeping with what is already developed around the area. Also to the fact that it backs onto Cathedral College, the school, so there are school children in the area, so concerned with traffic, and also to the Laceby Togora Road, the current state that is in, and the impact that, you know, additionally another 500 plus cars travelling up and down Clark's Lane, as well as, school buses. That road is constantly potholes are being filled. It is quite narrow. There are trucks, there are school buses that use that little section of road that is literally only single lane. So my concern is obviously the infrastructure and the pressure that will put on the Clark's Lane and Macquarie Breeder Road roads. So, and I also have a question for another resident. Is that okay if I read that out on her behalf?
We'll answer the question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I'll just ask Director Swart to respond to you.
Apologies, but I heard your concern. I'm not certain about the question.
The question is the
size of the allotments, is that
the size
your
of the
concern?
allotments and also the impact on the roads around the area with the additional traffic that will be coming and going on that estate.
Thank you for that clarification. All of those types of concerns have been raised in submissions, including from you and others, and it's summarised in the report. If Council decides today to refer this matter to a panel, all of those issues will be considered by that panel as well, and that panel will make a recommendation to Council before Council makes a decision about this proposal. As part of this process, it's a combined rezoning and planning permit application. And the planning permit application part of that will include conditions for any development if it was approved in the future. Typically, those conditions would include things like upgrades to infrastructure, including roads. So that's the process that we are following. That draft planning permit application, including draft conditions, was exhibited with the proposal. Through the panel process, there might be a recommendation to add more conditions onto that if this is going forward.
Director Swart, could you just explain for the benefit of the audience around how a panel actually works? Because this is a sort of a rezoning process, and the panel will consider the proposal that's been put forward. So if you could perhaps provide some explanation to that.
So if Council did decide today that they want to refer this matter to a panel, we will write to the Minister for Planning, and the Minister will appoint an independent panel to consider this matter. Typically with this type of thing, it would be 1 or 2 panel members, and they are from Planning Panels Victoria. They will give all the submitters an opportunity to make, their concerns known at a panel hearing, including submit things in writing. Council will have an opportunity to make a submission as well, and so will the proponents. And the panel members will then go away, consider all of these matters, and put together a report with some recommendations to Council. Those recommendations are for Council to consider. Council gets an opportunity to then consider whether they want to endorse or adopt the proposal. And under those circumstances, if Council did adopt the proposal, it will go to the Minister for Planning for final decision and approval. So there's a fair bit of process to play out.
Now, Lauren, you had another question.
Yes, I just had another follow-up. So who is actually responsible for the Lacey Tagora Road between Murdoch Road and Clark's Lane? Who is that?
Council.
Council.
Yeah.
So due to the high levels of traffic and obviously use of that road, is there a reason why that road has not been upgraded or the width of it increased with the amount of traffic that does go on that road?
That will be part of our road management review that will be undertaken in this term of Council, and that particular road will obviously be considered for further upgrade should that be necessary.
Okay, so thank you. I'm asking this question on behalf of Jenny Hart, resident of Pinot Drive, who is unable to attend today. The report forming this agenda item 15.4 summarises the exhibition period and some submissions received, including public submissions. In the summary of public submissions received, the issue of inadequate public transport to support the new subdivision, an item of Jenny's submission, has not been included or addressed. Jenny would like to know why this very important issue of public transport to provide accessibility for over up to 840 people who would reside in this proposed development is not being discussed in the report for the councillors to consider.
The intention of that part of the report is to summarise the key issues that were raised as part of the submissions. It's not to list every issue that was raised. That doesn't mean that we have to consider every issue that was raised. This is really just to, I guess, streamline the council report. Also illustrates the importance of a potential independent panel process, because it means that an independent party will get a chance to consider all of those matters raised by submitters.
Thank you, Laurie. Councillor, sorry, any other questions from the gallery? State your name, please.
June Anderson, I'm a resident of Pinnock Drive. Firstly,
That's right.
June Anderson, I'm
June
a
Anderson,
resident
right,
of Pinnock Drive.
Yep.
Firstly, when we moved in, we recognised that across the creek would be developed. So we absolutely understand that Wainwright has to go forward and there has to be development. The same as Lauren, our concerns are in the number of blocks and the size of the blocks. So we're on 1 acre blocks, and a lot of the area around it are on much larger residential blocks. And so we were told that the development would be in keeping with the surroundings, but I would argue that that isn't the case. So the question really is around infrastructure, which Lauren has raised as well, about public transport, playgrounds and the roads and that sort of infrastructure, which has been partly addressed. And already on your council agenda, you have stated talking about the draft climate adaptation plan. So how does this development with the smaller blocks and multiple housing, which has very little space for gardens and trees and things like that, how does that fit in with the climate adaptation plan of council, and also that environmental sustainability that everyone is concerned about?
Well, perhaps, June, the short answer to that is that we haven't decided what that actual subdivision will absolutely look like finally, but I'll ask Director Swart to respond again to some of the points that you've raised, please.
Thank you. At the moment, the land that's proposed for rezoning is in the low density residential zone. And if development went ahead on that zoning, it would typically be bigger lot sizes. The process for changing that zoning is exactly the process that we are going through now. And there's a reason why it includes public exhibition and potentially an independent panel process. That's to make sure that the people that potentially are impacted by this development will have a chance to have this say about it. So it's not easy to change the zoning to achieve those higher densities, and it takes a long time. So we're making our way through that process, including providing people with an opportunity to have this say. I think I talked about infrastructure before, where this process will consider what infrastructure needs to be upgraded to be able to accommodate this. And that is a matter for a panel to consider as well if this was going to go to a panel. In terms of environmental sustainability and climate change, the climate adaptation plan, or the draft climate adaptation plan that we talked about before, is focused on council's operations. So what are the things that we can do and that we control? When it comes to subdivisions and developments, we have the planning scheme, and the planning scheme sets out a range of policies and provisions that requires developments to consider climate change and environmental sustainability. And this proposal would have considered all of that on the way through. Again, that's another matter that a panel could also consider during that process if it did go to that.
Thank you, June. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Colin Anderson, yes, just in response to the answer given to my friend. You mentioned bigger lots. That is very subjective. What do you determine a bigger lot?
I mentioned bigger lots to illustrate that the land is in a different zoning right now, and we're going through a rezoning process to achieve smaller lots. The bigger lots in the low density residential zone typically are between 2,000 and 4,000 square meters.
No, sorry. Just
One more question.
one more.
Yes.
This is going back a little bit, sorry. I didn't pick up on it, but maybe for councils and their roads, Clark's Lane, you get 5 mil rain, floods, water over the road. It has done for the last 10 years we've been there. So,
Well,
something to be done.
It's been noted, Colin. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, councillors, we've got a recommendation. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Winters? Second? Councillor Bustle? Councillor Winters, would you like to speak to the recommendation?
I would like, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move the recommendation as set out in the agenda. Over the last few months, I've had the opportunity to speak with some of the residents from Pinnock Drive about the planning scheme amendment and planning permit, and some of them are in the gallery today. I would like to thank June, Colin, Lauren and Jenny for asking their questions during the meeting tonight and continuing to advocate for the community, so thank you so much for coming tonight. Many residents have raised concerns with me over the number of blocks, the block size, the impacts that this development will have on the environment, and the social impact as well, as among other concerns which can be found in the agenda, and some of which have been brought up tonight. I'm conscious that we have a serious housing shortage, and the proposed 233 lots are desperately needed by people in our community. The wastewater facility will also provide much needed irrigation to the sporting fields, which are vital sport assets for our community. I'm moving this motion because I believe it's incredibly important for the community to have their concerns considered and their questions answered. And I believe the process of meeting with the panel will be vital to ensure everyone has their voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bustle, would you like to? Okay, we've got a recommendation moved and supported by Councillor Winters and seconded by Councillor Bustle. Are we all in agreement? Thank you, councillors. Motion's been moved. We move to item number 17.1, the annual community performance assessment results.
Mayor, I'd just like to move that the recommendation that this report that is subject to be deferred until April 25, scheduled council meeting at the request of the Ordinance Committee to allow their time and further discuss this matter.
So Councillor Benton has asked that on behalf of the Audit and Risk Committee that we actually defer the report to the March meeting. Do we have someone to second that? Councillor Fuller? Councillors, are we in agreement? I should ask you, does anyone want to speak to that? But no, but are we in agreement? Yes, we all are. Thank you very much. All right, councillors, we now move to item number 18, which is minutes of advisory committee meetings, of which there are none. 19, notices of motion, none. 20, item 20, urgent business, there is none. And to item number 21, public question time. and there's an opportunity to come to the microphone and ask council a question. Oh, we have a number of questions here. I have a question from Trudy Werry, and she has directed that question to Councillor Fitzpatrick or Councillor Maxwell. All questions come through me as the chair, and I will provide a response to Trudy Werry, but I will also ask Councillor Fitzpatrick and Councillor Maxwell to provide a response. Councillor Trudy Werry asks about the contract for the Albury Pound is nearing expiration. Are there plans to return the RSPCA or the pound to Wangaratta as working volunteering is for great benefit to the community? It gives people with all abilities to help the community, as work and caring for animals is easier for some residents to deal with animals than with people. Returning the pound to Wangaratta will also improve the ability for people in the area to adopt an animal, as doing 2 or 3 trips to Albury isn't practical for some residents of the community. Well, the current contract for the Albury Animal Care Centre was for 2 years, and that will end in June 2025 with an option for a 1-year extension, which could take this contract through to June 2026. The cost analysis of developing and operating the council's own pound in Wangaratta has been completed, and based on this analysis, council has no plans to build or develop its own pound in the foreseeable future. The council will undertake a procurement process towards the end of the current contract to find appropriate providers of pound services for the council. And I think it's worth mentioning here too that, you know, since we've had this arrangement, we've found that any of the animals that we've had to return to their owners that were lost were done in fairly quick time. And I think that's also a reflection of the fact that those people have their animals microchipped, and it's been an easier process to simply return an animal if it's been lost or run away. And I'll ask Councillor Fitzpatrick to also provide a short answer to this particular question from Trudy Werry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think you've pretty much summed up what I was going to say, that this process has been working well. From my understanding, made a great point on animals that are looking for new owners. I believe that is on the website for you to check out, make a call and go up and visit the animals yourselves, because sometimes I think you really need to go up and have a look for yourself to see if the animal would be best suited for your home or you're best suited for them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Trudy Werry, for your question. And it's interesting that you're stating here that for some people it's easier to work with animals than it is other humans. And I think at times we can all agree with that. Look, I think having this pound in the Albury area, it's provided an opportunity for the return of animals to their owners to be expedited, which is a great thing for both the owner and the animal in itself. We know that the cost to councils is absolutely exorbitant, and we've got tough fiscal times ahead as well, but from the feedback that I've heard, this seems to be working, and obviously it will be reconsidered in the future, and council will then obviously have to make a decision, but at the moment this isn't something that council intends to do anything to Wangaratta.
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. There's a second question from Trudy Werry, and she's directed it to Councillor Fuller and Councillor Winters. Again, I will ask them to provide a response as well, but she asks about the council is going to increase the footprint of the art gallery and remove parking so that it will be harder for older residents or residents with disabilities to access facilities services around the gallery precinct. Trudy asks, where does the council want people to park when using the services facilities? the co-op parking is far too far away for some residents. And the response to Trudy is that proposed creative precinct development would extend over the current car parking at the rear of the Performing Arts and Convention Centre and Gallery. This would mean a loss of 46 car parks. A traffic impact assessment was prepared as part of the application for the proposed development. The assessment shows that parking would be available to meet the needs of the creative precinct attendees, observing that the current parking occupancies across the CBD does not exceed 70%. Parking is available within the immediate vicinity of the Performing Arts and Convention Centre within Broad Street and adjacent car parks. The current disabled car parks in the area would be retained. And this is currently, in reference to what's happening on that particular site, is a live planning application, and it will come to a future council for consideration. Was there something you wanted to add to that, Director Swart?
Not really. I mean, there's a bit of a process to play out there with that application. It has been advertised for community feedback, and we have received some submissions, and that's part of what we need to consider potentially at a future council meeting.
Thank you, Director Swart. Councillor Fuller, did you want to make a statement? Councillor Winters?
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Trudy. I believe this question came to Councillor Fuller and I as we are the new council representatives of the Arts and Culture portfolio.
But the process is to go through the chair.
Yeah. So thank you, Trudy. The proposed development plan to provide a much needed extension to the gallery spaces, and as Madam Mayor Grant has said, it would mean a loss of the 46 car parks. I'm absolutely hear your concern, Trudy, and I'm pleased that the accessible car parks will not be removed under the proposed plan, so thank you, Madam Mayor, for clarifying that. I'm committed to working with the community and neighbouring businesses and community groups and stakeholders to make sure that there is minimal impact, and I look forward to continuing this conversation as the plan continues to be developed in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winters. Do we have any other questions from the gallery? Well, we don't have any more questions. It comes to the end of our meeting, and I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance tonight. Thank everyone for the last year in terms of your association with the rural city of Wangaratta. It's been absolutely a wonderful year in terms of some of the things we've been able to achieve. But one of the highlights for me has been the ability to work with the community, to listen to what people have got to say, to hear their concerns, to also hear the things that they're really happy and pleased about. We're truly fortunate to live in a wonderful municipality with facilities that we have, with the services that we have. I can't think of a better place to live. I think Wangaratta and its environs is a wonderful location, and I think it's up to all of us to get together and make it a better place into the future. So a Merry Christmas to everybody, and I look forward to seeing everyone again in the new year. So